Hey everyone, it is your favorite CEO, Miss Flo, back with another episode of Neon Mike, where the conversation just glows. I am here with a very special guest with me, Mason Burns.
Hello,
Here,
how y'all doing? How y'all doing?
um, the way we met is very dope because we bumped into each other at the Art All Night activation at Minnesota Avenue at Shoe City, and we're just casually just having a conversation. I'm checking out your work. You were also working with another artist there, and
Yeah.
then we exchanged Instagrams, and we were just like, "Yo, we have to do the show. We have to
Mhm.
do the show." So, if you could talk a little bit about the what you had set up there at Art All Night.
Okay, so the woman I was working with, I call her Miss Shay because that's one of my mom's best friends, and basically I was volunteering to sell her merch, which is for her son that he passed away a couple years ago. Um, he was one of my childhood friends, and basically she set it up to preserve his legacy and to kind of live by his words and keep his name alive in her life, but also in other people's life. Knowing him growing up, when he passed away, I didn't know how inspirational he was towards his friends, his peers, and stuff like that. I didn't really know until he passed away. I don't think she knew either. So it was pretty cool to like always volunteer to help her out, because she's doing other things on the side and she needs somebody to be at that table to sell things. And that was like my second time. Because was you there at the what is it called?
The Art All Night.
Yeah, art all night in a few weeks ago. Like it was in DC. It was,
The Minnesota Avenue one. Well, one, I think that's such a beautiful way to honor her son and to
mhm.
like preserve his memory. And thank you so much for helping her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm very close to her because of my mom. So yeah, it was great. It was great to do that, and I learned a lot from just selling merch because I want to eventually start my own clothing brand. Um, I always had a vision of having a clothing brand since like I want to say 2021. Um, but the way I wanted to do it is make it affordable, um, which you said it's a free flowing conversation. I kind of want to go into that as far as like in the black community. What I don't like is people do be too money hungry. And my thing is, I want to become more like, okay, I want to make my clothes affordable, but also become one like the best customer service I can offer. Like I want to support as much as like the support that I'm getting from other people, as well as like people buying the merch. Because I feel as if you value your customers as just money, you're not gonna last as long because you don't love what you do. You look at it as like, oh, you just make extra money and stuff like that, but not really understanding like, yeah, these people supporting um, your brand. They really mess with it, and sometimes you have to think about some people might not have the funds to buy what they want to buy. At times, people can make time or make purchases what they want to, but at the same time, if people really mess with your brand, they will buy it regardless. So you don't have to force that. So I've I've been a part of like not really a part of it in terms of the business side, but if I'm buying something from like a young, especially a young black owned business, when it comes to clothing brands, they want you to really buy it. Like they be too pressed um, to just sell their product, but not really understanding the support behind it. They will not value that at all. So my vision with clothing brand, I haven't started because I never really had the funds to do it, and I want to make sure like okay, I'm gonna make sure I have money aside where I can start it and I have money to back it up. So I haven't started it yet, but it is coming soon. I just don't know when yet.
Well, I think it's thoughtful that you're thinking about your customers already
Mm-hmm.
because as we kind of notice with our current economic state, we're dealing with inflation, high groceries. I know that there are parents that are trying to, make sure they provide for their young ones and trying to make sure they're also clothed as well for school and make sure that they are well off. So it's good, even though you haven't started yet, it's always good to be mindful of your targeted consumers.
Yep.
So, well, I hope that you were able to get started. There are plenty of grants in the city. I know that DC, I got to think of the website, and this is a mental, memo to myself to, put it at the bottom. But there are plenty of grants that you could go into. And you're fortunate enough to be in a space where there are other creators and artists that are selling their merch, even at the Plus Ultra Entertainment Studio. Even out front, they are helping some local artists out sell their clothing brand. So I think that is a good starting point for you.
Yeah, in terms of the clothing brand, my idea is surrounded by something that's different, something that's more towards positivity, more like towards love. Not really. I want to have something that's targeted towards my audience, younger and the older audience as well. Something that's like is diverse. Because of my parents, my dad and my mom, especially my dad, I do have the audience in terms of like the older people, like middle age to elderly people that support me on what I do on a daily basis and stuff like that. But I also do have my crowd, my friends, my peers, and stuff like that. So I think I have the luxury of that. But I also just want to reach out to a bigger audience in terms of my clothing brand, and I want to love what I want to do. Like anything I put my mind to, anything I really want to do, like this, I want to put my full 100% effort, my love into it. So I'm always gonna show love towards you or anything that I do, because at the end of the day, if you don't love what you do, you always gonna want to benefit off of it, but never really want to put in the work. So that's the one thing I want to put my best foot forward about.
All right, and that's a good mindset to have with opening a business, because if you're not going to enjoy it, it's kind of like just a waste of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you're also be helping your community out as well. So fingers crossed we get that clothing line soon. Have you thought of a name yet?
I did think of a name, but it's kind of like outdated. My mind grew, because luckily I have somebody. His name is one of my close friends. His name is Pharrell. He does YouTube. Um, he does YouTube. Is really flourishing on that. I've been there since day one, and he's really good at editing. And I remember he made like a little design for me and stuff like that. But I'm not really sure about the name anymore, because it's I matured a lot, life experience, just different ideas, and my mind opened so much, and I just feel like the name has changed. So I'm not sure yet, but I definitely have the same idea in terms of being different, going towards more of a love, positivity side of things.
Right. And earlier you spoke a lot about your father, and he's actually a DC legend. Can you tell people who your father is?
Yeah. So my father, his name is Sam the Man Burns. The people know him as Sam the Man Burns, a term of his house music name. But to me, he was my father, but also my big brother and also my best friend. So he done house music, play house music for I say over 40 years, while he was still on this earth and stuff like that. And when he passed away, of course for me, it was very painful. It was very unexpected. But for the majority of people are still to this day grieving over his loss. I mean, over his passing and stuff like that. And I didn't realize how big he was until he passed away. When I'm learning that how big he was as not only as a house music artist, but as a person. A lot of people loved him. And I think what separates him from a lot of other DJs was his personality, like him able to bring people together. his charisma. He can make people laugh. He's also really good on the mic. So when he DJ at parties, he get on the mic and he can be funny and stuff like that. And also, he was in public speaking as well. I just think I think also too what makes him great is he also can feel the audience, feel the crowd. Like it was one time I always tell this story. This is one time when, cause I was never old enough to go to the nightclubs, um, when growing up, but I was able to be blessed to be a part of like the outdoor events that are like for all ages. So I remember he used to go do this boat ride event where he DJ on a boat that goes across. I believe it was like down in D.C. I forgot what river it is. It might have been,
Was it at the wharf or like the Washington Harbor?
um, man, it might have been at the Washington Harbor, maybe.
Okay.
Um, and I remember this one moment where he was playing, um, and I was up at the. It was two levels. The bottom level where it's like there's roof and stuff like that, and the upper level. I was in the upper level, and I remember just just hearing him play and just feeling the crowd. And I didn't see him. I was up at the top. He's up at the DJ at the bottom, but I just see everyone just dancing, and then I remember everything just felt in slow motion, and I remember I just got emotional about it. I started crying, and I was like about I say 12, 13, maybe pushing 14 at that time. Um, and it was just recognize how beautiful it was, and him able to move a crowd and feel the audience. It's like he was very good at that, and I think that's something that separates him from a lot of other DJs, and that makes him so great. And he was also just big in this area. He also showed love to everybody. Like he always make sure you're straight, no matter how big or small you are, no matter who you are. He always showed love to people all the time. And in terms of me and him, like everybody always tells me how much he talks about me, and he, I really took him in the next level in terms of his craft. I think I really inspired him just as a human being, um, but also to him being my father. Like I feel like in his craft, I think I helped him become even better at that. Yeah, yeah, and my dad. I'm still learning about my dad legacy. We have it's just so much I've been learning in terms of like the house music genre, terms of him, like what people know him. Like on in September, I had the honor to meet Common and Pete Rock and everything at Howard University. It was an event called Grammy U. I got invited to, um, and stuff like that. And I remember I asked both of them a question, but I remember I told them my background with music with my mom and my dad. And when I mentioned my dad, the room lit up. And then he told me, he was like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, your dad was a legend, like, and he admired his work." And I was like, "Oh wow, like I didn't know that, you know, Pete Rock is such a legend in the hip hop space and stuff like that from the '90s." Even though my dad, so he also knew people across his own space, So that's something that's crazy. So yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I think it's kind of funny. We learn a lot more about our parents kind of like afterwards
Hmm.
because we're always like in the moment. It's just like, oh, that's just our dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just like goofing around, watching our favorite shows and things like that. But then meeting other people and just seeing like the impact that they had, like I feel like you have that strong sense of pride for him.
yeah,
Did
yeah.
you inherit any of his musical talents?
Um, I would say I'm not a DJ. Like people want me to become a DJ, but um, that's just not my interest right now. Maybe in the future, maybe, but right now that's just not what I want to do. I feel like in terms of like my mom's also a dancer.
Mm.
She also started to DJ the last few years. Um, I say I inherit their mindset, especially my dad's mindset in terms of music, but also the way I think. Like I think very similar like him in terms of thinking outside the box, really finding that, really finding a way to bring people together, um, in terms of like love and even I got a hat like I wasn't able to bring the shirts and stuff like that, but I got a hat that represents like him, like it says, Sam is love. Yeah,
Aww.
Sam is love. And
Here, like unfold it so we can like really
mhm,
see it. Oh, that's cute.
yep, yep, this. So that's like something that is stood for, and that's something that I stand for as well. So I think that's what I inherit from my dad.
Yeah, I think there's like a lot of power in music. Granted, it people may trivialize it sometimes, but a lot of times music can be very healing. It can
Yep,
take people
yep,
away from the the everyday problems that we may experience, and it's like it's powerful, and we have to really acknowledge the people that are able to produce it and kind of share that because it's almost like a spiritual experience, especially to be
yeah,
able to connect with people.
yeah. Something that people have told me that I say I really fully grasped from like when my dad passed till now is how much house music in general is such a beautiful spiritual like music. Like I like how diverse house music is because I would say there's an argument where it's like, oh yeah, secular music. If you know what secular music is,
Mm.
it's like it's not something that praise God, but I feel like a lot of people don't understand what God really means. God is love, and what house music represents is love. And when I hear people talk about it, it's like they catch the Holy Spirit. Like I seen people dance their souls out. Like I'm able to really read energy and to have that blessing of like seeing that, and I see people like dance their souls out where it's like, oh wow. And I try to expose my generation to that because a lot of people in my generation not really used to genuine energy. Like they go, I'm not a party person. I don't go to clubs. I don't do all that. A lot of like my peers, some of my friends, they do that and they just listen to the same music, just drink, smoke. I don't do that either. I don't drink or smoke and stuff like that. With house music, I brought a couple of them to these events and they's having a great time without all of that. Like they're dancing, and some people that's even like the most shy, insecure in public and stuff like that. I'm like, look, just let yourself free, and next thing you know, I seen them dancing, like really having a good time, and it's like, yeah, I told you. And house music is such a beautiful thing because it's also connected with like it's mixed with a bunch of things. It's like you have jazz, soul music, gospel. You have
I feel like disco had
yeah,
like
disco.
had a
Yep.
lot of influence in
Yeah,
house music.
yeah, disco. Um, there also too you have like the electronic like music sound
EDM, yeah,
EDM.
EDM, yeah.
Even though even though that EDM is more like towards like the white the white crowd.
Yeah.
It's kind of but house music is really beautiful. Like I really love house music, and especially over the past 4 years, I found a bigger love for it, and I really want to advocate for that to become bigger than what it is right now. I want to make it towards like my generation, where my generation now can listen to house music and go to these clubs and make it bigger than what it is now, especially in the city of DC, where it's like ever since my dad got his own street name in DC,
Oh, where? Where's the
it's
street?
off of 18th and M Street, 18th and M Street, Northwest, and it used to be it's at the 18th Street Lounge that it used to be at.
Okay.
Yeah, the club that used to be off of 18th and M Street by Longfellow Park. So, it's actually it's really like changed my whole perspective on my my purpose in life, and I just want to make a bigger impact in the city of DC or the DMV where I could get my own street name, maybe near my dad or somewhere here because, I really want to make an impact in this city.
And that's a good mission to have. I think with going back to the impact of house was just I enjoy house music as well. Like, or if you go like early '90s,
Hmm.
house music is something about it that's very infectious, and I think we kind of saw a bit of a reemergence of it. I think with Beyonce's first Renaissance album,
Hmm.
and then even earlier in that with Kelly Rowlands and Commander, and then um, I think I want to say 2010s was kind of like playing with it because there's just something about it that's very infectious. Like
Hmm.
you gotta have like some type like one of the house songs on your workout playlist, and
Yeah.
you would never get bored. Like that's the thing that'll get you up and moving. I have some songs that I play when I first get up, just to motivate myself to go to work. It is something, even though it may not necessarily be inherently religious, it is something about it that moves people and that just like have people keep going and just let loose and have fun. Because I'm not inherently a dancer, but if you put on like a house track, like that's the thing that would get
Yeah.
me. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh my god, like we didn't know this side of you. Um, but I'm glad that you are working to like keep your father's legacy alive and
Hmm.
teaching his history because black people were very influential in house music, and it's good to see DCW. You guys are born and raised in DC, right? The DMV
I'm
area.
born. Yeah, I was born in Northwest DC, but I was raised in Hyattsville, Maryland. So Hyattsville, Maryland is like on pretty much on the border of
Yeah.
DC. So yeah, I was raised in Hyattsville.
So it's like it's good to see like a DC DMV native being represented in this popular genre that some people may forget, but it's just like if you leave your music player on shuffle, and then it's just like, oh my god, like all you gotta
Yeah.
do is like hear it once and it just takes you back.
Yeah. But in general, like because of my background in terms of like my mom and dad just in music in general, I do love music a lot. Like I love music. It's a big part of my life. Like it's not only house music, I love the hip hop and rap genre, but I'm more of like the person that leans towards like more lyrical, old school type of songs. Like I'm more into also underground, so I don't really like listening to mainstream. I
Mm-hmm.
like listening to actual art, actual like artists that really put out some really good work. Not none of that like mumble stuff. Like I like stuff that have substance that actually talk about something and have a message and stuff like that. I'm also a big fan of like R&B, blues, soul music. I like gospel music. I like even though I'm not a Christian, I like Christian music and stuff like that. Jazz. Um, I think I love pretty much every genre. The only genre I say I can't really get with is probably like heavy metal. That's probably the only music I can't really get into. But everything else I can. I love music all in general. So it makes me who I am.
I think that what you said before about like some of the messaging in the music. In my previous episode with Heal with a Thought, we talked about like how our body receives certain energy, and I think like where you get your personality from is from
Mm.
like the music that you consume. That is more uplifting and more positive in nature. So I understand like certain other genre of music, although entertaining, may not always be the best interest or really good for us because of the messaging.
Yeah.
But it seems like your type of music has really affected your upbringing. But on top of like keeping up with your father's legacy, you are an athlete. You're also,
Yeah.
like we play basketball.
Yeah. Yeah. But in terms of that, it's kind of like I love basketball to death. Like I've been playing since I was 8 years old. Actually, it was a story of like me and my dad. So um, before basketball, I used to want to become a WWE wrestler, but then um, and I say around 2009, 2010. Um, I say yeah, around 2009, 2010. I remember I got the Xbox 360, and I remember get like for Christmas I also got NBA 2K10, which Kobe was on the cover. And I remember I started really having an interest in that, and I started really getting into basketball. And so when I got into it originally, and I told my dad like, yeah, like I want to do this and stuff like that. My dad was like, look, like before you even start playing, I need to learn the history of the game. I need to learn from the people who built the table that I'm eating off of and stuff like that. And that's something that I started doing. I started to educate myself on the game and stuff like that. I think that helped me become more of a student of the game instead of just just playing it. Um, and my dad never did anything like that with any of my passions growing up, like before basketball. But when he told me that, like it sticks with me to this day, like to still be a student of the game. And right now, currently, it is kind of hard because COVID took away my senior season.
Mm.
So it did mess up my recruiting process. Like I only got like medium to small interest from like a couple schools, like D3 JUCO, stuff like that. Um, and right now it's like I'm 21. I'm still young, but in terms like in college terms, like it it makes my chances very slim. So, but I still love the game, and it's like I still want to pursue that. I feel like anything in my life, anything I put my mind to, I can do it. And I feel like with the power of God and everything like that, um, anything is possible. It's just it's very tough, but I'm not going to look at that obstacle and not play. Like I still play basketball pretty much on a daily basis, and it makes me who I am today because if I'm not playing basketball, I'm watching basketball. If I'm not watching it, I'm studying it. Like I'm very just having a high IQ for the game, just knowing the history and just just loving the game. I love watching NBA, college, high school, women's basketball, you name it. I just love watching good hoops. So that's my thing.
Yeah, I noticed about you is like you tend to always wanting to do your research before diving into something.
Yeah.
It's like how did that discipline come about?
Um, I say it's always been with me, but I say ever since I've been getting like older, I like to really be more knowledgeable on a lot of things. I say I'm gonna dive in to my like 2020 when my dad passed away. So 2020 for a lot of people was hard. Um, for me, Kobe was one of like an inspiration for me, not only as a basketball player but in life in general. And when he passed away, it hurt me a lot. Even though I didn't know him personally, and even someone got on me about that. Was like it was a weird spot. It's like yeah, I don't know him personally, but he was a big part of my life. Why I was into basketball, but also Mamba mentality really stuck with me as a basketball player, but also as a person. So then my dad passed away, and then when COVID really set in and hit, that's when like I was like very like depressed, like, and I never went depression ever in my life, so it was very new to me. And I didn't really know I was depressed until I got the severity of it. Now at the time, it was like late 2020. I thought I beat depression, but hindsight's 2020. I didn't.
Mm.
Um, so I was still going through those symptoms and all that stuff. But my friend Pharrell, I've been friends since middle school. He got me into like spirituality. Now I was never like really a super religious person growing up. Like of course when you growing up in America, you really mostly know Christianity, and um, I just really wasn't super into it. Some things didn't really make sense, or it just my soul just didn't really gain that, grasp that. So he got me into spirituality. He got me to understand like a lot of things about spiritual, and when I started become now, I think started becoming more wiser, um, just more mature, but also too just my mind opened up so much that I start to be able to do a lot more things. So when it came to researching things, I like to really research stuff because I don't like to like have do anything. I don't like to go into things um, just doing half of the work. Like I really want to, if I'm going to do something, I really want to research, study it, so I know like what I'm getting myself into, or like even like for this, like I like to like research you, like to do my homework on you, so we can help help each other like grow, but also to show that I care about you. I care about what you do. I care about you as a person and
Aw.
stuff like that. Like I really want to show like yeah, like I'm not just here just to do it and then just leave out. Like I want to be able to have that connection with you and stuff like that. And that's with anybody or anything. Like I like to have a bond. Like I don't like to have just that strictly business or strictly like doing something for one thing and then dip. Like I'd rather have that that spiritual that spiritual bond with somebody where it's like yeah, like we can contact each other outside of this. Like we can go out and hang out, or if we ever need advice or anything, we can call each other, we can text each other, or yeah, when we can work with more projects and more things other than just this right here. So
Oh, that's very
yeah.
sweet. Now, you touched on COVID and the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, and I think that impacted a lot of people. I remember teaching during that time, and just kind of watched what my students went through. And I think people kind of, I don't want to say people have forgotten, but I think that it's not talked about enough about the aftermath and how much like people lost. Like we didn't have a graduation, there wasn't a prom for a class of 2020. Um, and even like as you mentioned before, like it hurt your chance of recruiting and going to the school that you wanted to because
Mm-hmm.
everything has shut down. You did speak about depression. How are you able to kind of help manage that or overcome it?
Well, I recently overcame it this year, like earlier this year. So I'd say something that I was struggling with that I didn't realize till this year was really accepting the past. Like I didn't fully accept my dad not being here. I didn't fully accept a lot of things that came with that. So one of the things I did mention is about I wasn't really real with myself at the time. Like when I got the out of the severity of it was like I was very low on energy. Um, just sleeping all day, like sleeping like 12 hours a day, 10, 12 hours a day, not really eating much. It was just a lot, and it just felt that time because I graduated in 2021. Um, that time from I'm gonna say March, that time of March when my dad passed till like maybe around August, like late August around my birthday time. Those are like the severe depression, and it just felt such a blur because all those days felt so fast, but also felt so slow at the same time because of all that stuff. Now when I got the severity of it, I'm thinking in my mind like, oh yeah, I'd be depression, but really looking back, it was like I was still had them symptoms where it's like it was hard to if life happens right, and sometimes something happens, it's hard to pick myself back up. Like just a lack of motivation, and I felt like this constant cloud over my head. Like that's the best way I'll describe it. Like life can be good at one moment, but I still felt like that cloud go over my head. And then when life happens, life hits, I just didn't know how to pivot. I didn't know how to move, and it would take me a while to get my get myself back up. Um, so this year I was able to beat it for multiple reasons. One was I actually finally like knew what was the main source of it. So the main source of my depression was like my dad, like not accepting him not being here. But one person that helped me do that was my therapist, Mr. Darrell. Um, he'd been my therapist for over 10 years. Like have the luxury of having the same therapist and him being so involved in my life, like and he always like comes to my house. He comes to my house and see me. Like it's not like I'll go to his office. He really care about his job. So I remember I had a talk with him over the phone, and he told me something that changed my life forever. He said, anxiety is based off the future, and depression is based off the past. And so that kind of helped me realize, like, okay, depression is really built off the past. So what is it that I start to realize? It was like I wasn't real to myself. I didn't accept my dad not being here physically, and that was one of the most hardest things to go through, because when you're healing from something, you really have to go through those dark times, because when you're healing, you have to analyze, like, all right, what's really going on with you. So I would say also too, I went through a no, actually no, I scratch that. I'll say probably around March, like March, I would say I start to feel like, yeah, I beat depression, because when that fourth anniversary of my dad's passing,
Mm.
um, I didn't feel like any sadness. I didn't feel like I didn't feel anything. Like I felt happy. Like I felt at peace. Like I really felt like at peace. I remember telling people I was at peace with it. Deep down inside I wasn't, but now like I feel at peace. Like I can really accept him. Accept him. He's never gonna be here physically, but he's always gonna be here with me spiritually, which I do feel on a daily basis. Like I feel his presence every single day, or almost every single day. And another thing that helped was, um, I was going through a tough time with, like, it was like relationship issues at that time. Something that, not to like say any business, I want to keep that
Mhm.
away, but it was something very heartbreaking. One of the worst pains like I ever felt in my life, besides like my dad's passing. Um, that was one of the worst feelings, because this is someone that I thought was, I was gonna marry to be the rest of my life,
Mm.
and it kind of like everything that happened between us was really it was really hurtful. It was really tragic and stuff like that. Like I still love her, of course. Like we cool now. Like we're friends and stuff like that. She apologized like months later afterwards, but it was just everything that happened at that time. Um,
It was multiple things going on at once, and
yeah,
then when it piles on like that, it's just it makes everything so much harder.
yeah, yeah. And I'll say, when that happened, I realized it did not break me. It did not break me because the fact that I did beat depression. If I still was going through that, oh my gosh, I would have been such a worse place. I probably wouldn't be here right now. Like not like I'll still be living, but like just my spirit just wouldn't be the same.
Mm.
Um, but it motivated me to, like, I had to make a change, and I started to improve myself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. That's the important part of spiritual, and I start to also to connect with God more. That's another thing too. I say what helped me with my depression and able to overcome it is just my connection with God. Like I start to understand. Like I think what people get confused about, God and stuff like that, is a lot of people listen to the religion part of it and not really understand, like, God is love. Like if you simplify things, the basic meaning of it, then you start to understand what it actually means. Like because I'm a naturally loving person, coming from an unconditional loving family, love been my first instinct.
Mm.
I'm able to love all the time. Like that's what I feel all the time. No matter what you've done to me, no matter what. Like if I ever told you I love you, that's for life.
Oh.
So it's like when all that stuff happened, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be another statistic. I don't want to be another person that hurt people. Hurt people. I wanted to really just dive into, like, love myself better and love others better, than I have before. And just to know God is love, and knowing, like, having a deeper understanding of God, and knowing that, because people always told me what old souls meant. I'm an old soul, And old soul really goes deeper than just listening to old music or having a love for the past. Like it's only 10% of people in this world that actually are old souls. And so I start to research that. I start to understand why people always told me like I have an old soul, because of the fact that you have a deeper understanding of life. Like your soul is older. My soul is older than my physical body. And when I start to understand that too, I start to really grasping all this information. This made me like better who I am today, and I'm able to speak on this stuff because I'm able to heal from all of this stuff. And you know, and for my main thing of depression was my dad, and able to accept that is actually pretty amazing. Actually, too, what helps me too is this tattoo that I got. Um,
Oh.
yeah, I don't know if the camera can see it, but yeah, I've never like been a tattoo person, but for my birthday last year, it was actually a birthday gift, where I get a free tattoo. And I call her my god auntie. I met her last year, and she told me like a story about my dad and stuff like that. And I got this done in May. I wanted to make sure I got it done in May because of the fact that I knew at the time, um, that my dad was finally gonna get a street name at that month, but also too, salute the Sam event that we have like every year since 2021, but also too like his birthday on May 31st, which is the same day of his street naming, and stuff like that. I knew it was gonna happen for a while. It was just we didn't know when. And yeah, and Sam. We also have a legacy page for my dad as well, called Sam the Man Burns Legacy Foundation page. So it's on Instagram. We also have an official website for it and everything. So to kind of like preserve his legacy as well.
Oh, well, that's lovely.
Yeah.
So you said they had like an annual thing to celebrate your father?
Yeah, so the city of DC, but also too Capitol House Fest makes it happen, and things like that. We like do a big event for him. For the Like we have it at like parks. Like last year and the year before we had it at Franklin Park. The year before that we had it at Fort Reno, and then the first annual one in 2021 was at Malcolm X Park. So next year, it's gonna be hosted. I forgot what's the park name. It's gonna be in DC. I can research it more about it. I just got word from it like I say a month ago about it. I just seen someone, Capitol House Fest posted it, and I'm like, oh snap, that's tough. Like that's a nice park, and these events are always lovely because I get to meet different people every time. Like, of course, I see a lot of the same people that maybe that I've seen throughout my life, or maybe just new people. But have the opportunity to meet new people and knowing like, oh yeah, they could tell me stories about my dad, and I'm still learning about who my dad really was as a DJ, as a person, and stuff like that. And especially if they was close to him, they always tell me like he always talked about me all the time.
Oh.
Talked about me all the time. And I and also too, with these events we also have singers. Like last year we had Crystal Waters perform.
Oh.
Yeah, Crystal Waters. And yeah, yeah, I actually met her, able to talk to her, and I learned that my dad got her into house music and stuff like that, which I was like, oh wow, like I didn't know about that. I seen her post about it, and then got to have a conversation with her. It was pretty cool.
I'm trying that name. I know the name.
So
It's just I'm trying to think like her song.
you know that
'Cause-
one song, da da dee, da da.
Okay,
Yeah.
that one. Okay.
And it's funny. It's funny because I work with kids, and like I know they know that song because of TikTok and stuff like that. And to tell them like I know the artist to that song, even though it's an old song too. So it's pretty amazing, and I get to meet a lot of new people during these events and stuff like that. So it's great.
Oh, that's amazing. And I'm glad that the city and all of these house legends were able to still celebrate your father. When the event comes up, please let me know because I would love
Okay.
to attend.
Yes, yes. I forgot the exact date of for next year, but I can send it to you.
For sure. Um, you would mention that you work at a rec center, so you can elaborate like what rec center and
Yeah,
like what you
so
do
I
there.
work at Rolling Crest Community Center, which is off of Sergeant Road. Yeah, it's off of Sergeant Road, and I actually grew up at that rec center. Like I was able to be a part of like the kids care programs, summer camp, teen night, and things like that. But also too, I don't really talk about this much, but I was also part of the recreational basketball team. When I don't know, they still have that. I don't really hear too much about it, but back then they used to have a basketball rec team there, and now like I started working there in January. Now I'm starting to work for those same programs I was there at like 10 years ago. Like a little bit over 10 years ago is actually pretty amazing. Like some of the staff members um, see me grow up to a young man, and now working with them is pretty crazy. And I have a love for these kids. Like I love the youth because at the end of the day, they're the next generation to lead us. Um, and I really love my job. Going in there pretty much 5 days a week, and really like having fun with them, teaching them things, um, doing activities with them. Um, my main thing is really bringing a different perspective to into life. You know what I mean? Like I like to. What I learned from my dad, the reason why our bond was the way it was, he always emphasized to treat me as an equal. Like he never really talked down to me. Like he's an adult and I'm a kid. Like he always talked to me as an equal. And the thing about that was we had more of organic conversations where like we could talk about anything and everything. That's why he was my best friend. He was like my brother, not only just my father. Like of course, occasionally, he had to be like, all right, son, like like I'm your father and I'm the son,
Yeah.
like. But he never really had that dynamic of like, yeah,
Like stay in a child's place
yeah,
or that
yeah.
type of
I
mentality.
say sometimes a lot of times he can be unfiltered. So he told me certain things that looking back like I shouldn't have known at a very very young age, or just he showed me movies. He showed me things. Um, he showed me a lot of things. Honestly, that looking back I shouldn't have seen. But he always watched it with me though.
Yeah.
He always explains things to me. So it made me who I am today. I don't suggest it for any other kids.
Yeah, I think we're from a generation where, like, I remember my family, we were watching Silence of the Lamb, and I was 3 at the time. So,
Yeah.
I mean, as long as they, like, I mean, I don't think that messed me up
Yeah. Yeah.
for the most part. So, don't feel too bad.
Yeah, and like, I learned how to, talk to these kids with as an equal, and they really love that. Like a lot of the kids really love me. They're very comfortable with me, and parents really appreciate me. Like having some parents kind of express like their care, they care from like how I treat their child and stuff like that. And it's like it's really good. It's really good. It's really humbling experience, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning, especially it's a generational difference. Even though I'm not that much older than them, but it's definitely a generational difference, especially like with TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're exposed to social media at such a young age, so sometimes they will surprise you with certain things they know, or certain things they say, even if they don't even know what it means. They just kind of like,
It
you
can be
know,
a good or bad thing. They
yeah,
can learn certain things about the world that they need to hear, and then you have some nonsense.
yeah.
But they're very fortunate to have somebody like you who grew up in that rec center is giving back, and for someone that is so loving and caring and understanding,
Mm.
they're very fortunate to have you.
Yeah, I wish I could do much more for the kids. But of course, with a job like that, you can't be too involved, like, 'cause it's still business at the end of the day. Um, but like I say I'm more personable with the teens because some of the teens like they I went to school with,
Mhm.
or they knew me outside of here or me outside of like the my job, and I'm able to guide them to the right direction. A lot of them come to me for basketball advice, but sometimes they come to me for life advice, or I even get to talk to them about some spiritual stuff, which is like more deeper than your regular conversation. It just depends on how mature you are. Um, but it's just a blessing. It's very much a blessing. I love my job. Of course, of course, I want to do something bigger than that. But um, yeah, I really love my job, and I'd be sad like if I had got like a better opportunity somewhere, and I might can't work there no more. I'll cry. I'll cry for sure. Like, and that's one thing about me I want to touch on is just always being emotionally in tune to myself. Like, I've always been emotionally in tune to myself, and that's something about me. I'm very much can feel something when you're an empathetic person. You really could feel. You can really feel your emotions. Like, you're very in tune to that. Even as a kid, I always felt that, but now I can feel it even more. Where I can see the beauty in things, and really just it. I can see so much beauty that sometimes it makes you emotional. So
Mm.
yeah, that's something that I'm able to do as well.
Well, that's a very good sentiment. I think what I kind of feel like if my publication grows and is like very successful, I will still stay in touch and work with my scholars and with the high school. Because it's always about like if I can't be physically there, I can still give back in some type of way. So when you make it big, like don't think it's like the end of the road and I can never be here again. You can always give back to
Hmm.
your rec center.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. I do like I haven't really thought about it, but now you brought it up. Like, I do want to give back to my community in terms of like money. Like, I want to give back to my community center, but also my elementary school, my middle school, my high school I went to. Like, just giving back like in terms of financials, or really going back there to really help give a speech to the kids. Do something special. Like, I always wanted to do that.
And it's always good to have a positive black male role model in the space to mentor our young folks. So, again, thank you so much for doing that. As a high school educator, I understand the challenges of that and what comes along with it. But from the sounds of it, it just seems like you are the perfect fit for
Hmm.
that role. So, thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, I really pride myself as being the best role model I can be for, my community, but also for myself, for my family. I just want to represent myself the best I can. Of course, I'm not perfect. I do slip up. I'm not perfect. But one thing I can say is I go 100% at it every single day, and people really inspired by me. Like, when people tell me like I inspire them, rather you're my age, you're younger, you're older, like that motivates me to be better. Like, I'm really motivated by that. Like, if someone can say they look up to me, like my parents told me that, like younger kids or people my age or older, they say I inspire them, and it sometimes it comes out of nowhere. Sometimes it be people you least expect that they really just watch you, and they really just admire what you do. And it's like, dang, like I appreciate that and I love that. And it motivates me to be better, because there's people that rely on me. And like, I always look at myself, especially this year alone. I look at myself as I'm not this normal person. I'm not like this regular citizen, regular person. Like, it's okay to just exist in life. Um, but for me, like, I want to be great. Like, and I feel like I've always been destined for greatness, and I'm not meant to just to be working like a regular 9 to 5, or just doing small things like that. I feel like my purpose on this earth is bigger than just that, and kind of recognizing like people have their eyes on me, like everything I do, not only because of my parents, but I'm starting to gain the respect of people calling me by Mason Burns instead of saying the man Burns' son as well, is something that I really love. So people really really like look at what I do. So
It sounds like you're really like coming into your own and starting
yeah.
to like your own brand and your own identity, and
Mhm.
that's pretty huge. Since you are coming from such a notable legacy, do you ever feel like that may be too much pressure, or you seem to be kind of like managing it pretty well?
I feel like I'm managing it pretty well. I don't really feel like it's pressure. Um, because of the fact that I love it. Like I love what I do. You know what I mean? Because as long as you love it, you don't feel the pressure at all. Um, and I don't think it's too much, especially the fact that I'm kind of really going to my own lane. My dad really emphasized to me being my own person. He never forced me to be a DJ. And when people kind of like force me to become that, it's like, do you really know my dad?
Mm.
Like, because my dad would never force me to do that. He
Right.
always emphasized to me like, be your own person. Like he didn't want me to be him. He actually wanted me to be better than him. So kind of like going into my own and like all this stuff like podcasting. Like I never like. Of course, it has always been something that I wanted to do, but I never imagined myself doing this like this, like where I'm doing guest appearances and stuff like that. Like I never really thought I'd be in these spaces or be in the music industry or do the things I do like now. Like I never imagined that, and it started from this year. It started from when I beat depression. That's when my mind, my heart, my mind, my spirit, my soul really started to flourish. I started to really put myself out there, and now I'm doing things that's like, man, I can't even imagine a year ago. I didn't really have a lot going on a year ago. Now that I do, it's like it's a blessing.
Well, I'm glad that you had that awakening.
Hmm.
And now that you have spoken all of this, I'm pretty sure it's all going to manifest. And I
Yeah,
see really big things for you.
yeah. Thank you.
So if people want to follow or network with you, how can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, yo_Mace. Um, it's two O's. Also, I'm on Facebook. It's just Mason Burns. I don't really use Twitter as much, but
And then it's Elon. Nobody really be using that. Really. You're good.
yeah, it's Mason and Andretti. Um, yeah, those are but mainly Instagram and Facebook is mostly where I be at.
All right. And you see how you guys glowed from that conversation? I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.